One of the hottest topics that comes up with my yoga teacher mentees is why won't my students stay in Shavasana? Why are they wiggling around during Shavasana? Worst case scenario, why are they leaving during Shavasana? So, most of my mentees have come to love yoga and come to love Shavasana. And we all have all these discussions about what's so great about Shavasana. So, maybe that is you as well. And we know that Shavasana is an important part of the practice. Otherwise, let's just go for a run or go to a HIIT class, right? And perhaps our students are not getting as much out of Shavasana, not because of them, but because of the way that we're leading Shavasana and teaching Shavasana. So, over my years and years of mentoring yoga teachers, I have come to see some of the mistakes that people tend to make when they're teaching Shavasana, and they're fixable. So, we're going to go over the 6 mistakes that I see yoga teachers make when leading Shavasana, and then you'll be able to take those, integrate them into your teaching in the way that feels the most authentic to you. And then the goal being you can teach these classes that your students are getting so much out of that they're eager to come back. You're creating transformation for your community. As always, that's the goal. So, before we go into those 6 mistakes, let's backtrack. What is Shavasana? This might be a good time to like pause the video, just reflect. What does Shavasana mean to you? What has your journey with Shavasana been? Do you like it? My guess is you're probably a yoga teacher because you like some element of Shavasana. Otherwise, you might be a Pilates teacher or a cycling teacher or something else, right? Um, so it can be just helpful, like what is your philosophy on what is Shavasana? What do you think about Shavasana? It's so important to like know your own personal relationship with Shavasana. Were you like so many people and came to yoga and Shavasana was super, super hard? Have you had a smattering of interesting experiences in Shavasana, but you still don't like it that much? Do you love Shavasana? Like, what are the things that you believe about Shavasana? So, one of my favorite things about yoga is that there's such a long lineage throughout the philosophy that says, don't take my word for it, feel it on your own, feel it in your body. So, on the topic of Shavasana, it might be good to journal or just reflect. I highly recommend you thinking about that before maybe going further if that resonates. Okay, so some thoughts on Shavasana. The Hatha Yoga Pradipika, which is a yoga text, says this about Shavasana. Quote, lying flat on the ground like a corpse is called Shavasana. It removes fatigue and gives rest to the mind. So it's this way of being still to create energy. It's going to remove fatigue. And then I really want to highlight this part. It gives rest to the mind. One of my favorite parts about yoga, and maybe you relate to this, and maybe it's one of your favorite parts, maybe not, is that yoga helps us get out of our head and into our body. Shavasana is one of these key parts that's going to let us get out of our head and into our body. And when it's facilitated or taught this way, this is going to give people the opportunity to get a really deep benefit as opposed to randomly laying down for a random amount of time, right? So I think kind of like as we move through these 6 mistakes, I want to just highlight that this is your chance for your students to give rest to their mind. This is where the mind gets to take a pause and we get to have the nervous system recalibrate. This is where the effects of the practice land in the body, not the mind. So ideally, we're teaching in a way that is throughout the practice getting us out of our head and into our body. But there's so many things like we might want to teach headstand. And if you teach headstand, you have to intellectualize a bit, right? Like it's going to be good to be like, look at my hands. You're going to grip your hands like this, like you're holding a tennis ball or whatever, however you're going to teach headstand, right? So Shavasana is the big hurrah where it's like, this is all you. This is your chance to recalibrate, to integrate, remove fatigue, and give rest to your mind. Okay. So, what are the 6 mistakes that I most commonly see? I see this so much that teachers want to be of benefit to their students. They just don't know how. And that is why I do what I do, because there's like tactile things that are just like techniques to do that change everything about the experience. Okay, so mistake number one, I see teachers not setting their students up to actually be still in their body. So I see teachers not being a strong leader and not really helping the whole room be in a shape in their body that's comfortable enough to be still in. Being on our back with our palms facing up is comfortable for some bodies. It's not comfortable for many bodies. It's not comfortable on some days, right? Like some Shavasana flat on your back can be fine, but if you have a low back injury, you're going to need some more support than that. So it's so important to take your time to make sure that you're guiding it. I see a lot of like teachers just letting their students all have their feet really close together and their feet are flexed up in the air. So that is the body pretty awake and pretty alert. The muscles are turned on. We need to be like talking about it and facilitating it so that the feet are turning out, the body is releasing and relaxing. And then it's so important to be a leader here. If you see a student that's brand new or has a back injury or is pregnant or needs some kind of support that is outside of laying flat on their back with no props, it's important to give them that support so that they can actually get something out of Shavasana. And sometimes that's as simple as saying, if this shape isn't comfortable to be still in, feel free to take a different shape. Sometimes that is what students need. Sometimes it's about being a leader, being the teacher. You're not just up there doing your own practice and just blabbering, right? Look around the room, see if somebody needs support, bring them a bolster, suggest things, you know? So making sure that they can really be in a shape that actually looks comfortable and they can lay there. Mistake number two. So this leads me to mistake number two. If you make mistake number one, you might have mistake number two happening. Mistake number two is teachers are not managing distractions during Shavasana. So you're still the leader, you're still holding space. It is your job to make sure that it is a calm enough, like within your control, a calm environment where people can integrate and be still. Now, if you have a new student who doesn't understand it and they're wiggling all around and it's a super uncomfortable thing to be laying flat on their back, they're going to wiggle around and they're going to distract the person next to them. If you had brought that person a bolster and said, slip this under your knees, does that work for your body? Now that person can stay still, and then the rest of the room can also get a nice Shavasana in. So you have to manage all the distractions. Another thing is being a leader and setting this up to say, we're not going to walk out of the room during, like, however you want to do this. Sometimes this happens. I teach this in a lot of different ways, and it really depends on the style you're teaching and the setting you're teaching in. But it's good to at some point say, we don't leave the room during Shavasana. Here's the times you can, or if you don't have the time to be in this class, please sign up for a class that you do have time to be in, right? However you want to manage it, but it's essential, right? If you are allowing students to spray their mat down and roll up their mat and whisper to their neighbor, how effective is that going to be for the student right next to them trying to have Shavasana? So we have to manage people not leaving, not talking. It can be okay if you're whispering a little bit to get people into Shavasana, but then we need to have a nice long space to really actually be in Shavasana without distractions as much as possible. So I it's important, like if you start to see that something is going to happen that's going to be distracting, it can be the reason why your classes are full and why people keep coming back to them if you stop that distraction. So somebody's starting to roll up their mat, can you can mouth to them, wait till Shavasana is over, and you would want to do it in a non-distracting way. Something's happening in the hall, crack the door open, right? Different things like that. It's important that you're doing it in a non-distracting way. So you're trying to hold space for as much integration and as much calm as you can possibly give your people, right? Okay, mistake number 3, not having Shavasana be long enough. Really, you need to be at least 3.5 minutes, is what I usually say. Sometimes it's nice to think of it as 10% of the class. So for a 60-minute class, a 6-minute Shavasana is great. Sometimes that's not possible. I think like a 60-minute class with a 3.5-minute Shavasana works, but is a 6 or 7-minute Shavasana way better? Yes. So then for a longer class, you have more space to give a longer Shavasana. When we're giving that 1-minute Shavasana, you could go try it, or maybe you remember what it feels like. It's kind of like, meh, like they're not getting enough time to actually get something out of it when it's 60 seconds or 2 minutes. Mistake number 3, music choice. We're working to get people out of their head and into their body. So if they are listening to lyrics that are triggering them and making them think about breakups, or they are liking the sound of the voice, or like there can be singing that helps people get into their body and out of their head. And maybe it's not in English or the native tongue of the class or things like that. But I would say usually no lyrics is a better bet on helping people get into their body and out of their head. Silence is great if that works for your class. I see this a lot where I am in Denver. There's a lot of dance tunes being played. It's like you can tap your foot to it and you kind of feel like, woo, let's go. That's not what Shavasana is for. Shavasana is for removing fatigue and giving rest to the mind. So dancing, that's not exactly what we're doing with the nervous system. So do something that is calming. This is their chance to relax, to dip out, to go to outer space. Make sure the music is not distracting with lyrics or distracting with a great beat. Okay, next mistake, talking the whole time. This, of course, is going to have them in their intellect, especially if you're talking about something intellectual, like having them consider something or giving them knowledge or things like that. I have seen people do like a little poem in the beginning, but then let everyone have a long Shavasana, which can work. Or a little bit of guided meditation in the beginning, but then easing them in as long as the goal is to get them into their body. Now, if you're jabbering on about things that make you have to be really processing in your head, you've kind of lost the battle with the Shavasana, right? So, Shavasana ideally is a space for quiet and for their own integration. Ideally, you're not talking. You may need to talk if they're having a lot of trouble being in Shavasana. You may need to like guide them and hold space with your voice. And that's like what a yoga nidra or something like that is for. But ideally, when we get the most out of Shavasana, when we see our students just like, wow, that class made me understand grief in a whole different way. That class made me feel so much better. I've been so stressed this week. Oh my goodness, I sleep so much better when I come to your class. Usually, those classes are giving those people time to integrate in Shavasana, not you talking or teaching during Shavasana. Some of our students' best work happens from within. Okay, and then the last mistake that I see is the lead out. we want to, I see teachers leading out kind of abruptly and not taking care of the lead out. So it's important that you hold space for your students that says, this is an important part of your practice, and I'm going to take care of this part of your practice. And maybe you just laid there and ran your grocery list this week, and that's okay. Like maybe you're not fully integrating my teaching this week, and that's okay. Keep coming back if you like it. And one day you might have a really magical Shavasana, right? And it's okay if they don't have a magical Shavasana every time. Um, your job is to hold space, not necessarily like hustle them into getting something in particular, but you hold the space for it. So in the way that you lead out, you're holding space like this was important and this requires a gentle lead out. So the biggest thing that I see here is that teachers say, you can stay as long as you would like. Feel free to stay here. Now, this could be another place to like pause, write it down, decide if you like that, if you love that, and that is your teaching style. I don't recommend it to any of my mentees, but this is your teaching. So write down the 5 reasons. If you were my mentee, I would say, write down your reasons, give me some great reasons why you love that. Tell me about why it suits your niche and suits your teaching style, and then we go with it because you're the designer of your teaching, right? But I would say probably not a good idea. And the reason why I tend to teach not a good idea to say you can stay here as long as you like, because now you are no longer holding space and guiding this out of the head and into the body. You just ask them to make a decision. So now most people are going to have to turn their brain on and be like, can I stay? What time is it? Does she go over? Does she stay on time? Do I have a meeting after this? Do I need to stop and get lunch? Da, da, da. Like their brain is gonna probably turn on. It'd be great if they were so in it that their brain didn't turn on, but it will probably turn on to help them decide if they would like to stay or move out. The other big reason why I don't like this is because the people who are staying, they're surrounded by people talking and rolling up mats. Even if those people are trying to be respectful, they're still rolling up mats. It's really hard when the energy is starting to shift out of the room to still be in this shavasana that truly is a deep, enriching experience. You're kind of just laying there in a busy room. You're not, unless the culture of your studio is different, or your students really have a strong ability to stay in like a relaxed meditation with distractions in the room. So maybe if they're super advanced, you could do it. So it could be really nice to just lead everybody out, continue to hold the container and take care of it. Lead them slowly. Even if they could kind of jump right out of Shavasana, lead them slowly to prepare them for like one day you'll want this to be slow and intentional. Okay, those are my reasons that the mistakes I see people making in Shavasana. I hope it was helpful. Please let me know what is helpful. Please let me know what you disagree with. Let me know why you love some of the things that maybe I have mentioned that I suggest not doing. I love a discussion. I'm always here to just strengthen the yoga teaching community. All right, y'all, have a beautiful day. Thanks for watching.